Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. A quick warning before we begin. Today's main story touches on the subject of a stillbirth and self-harming thoughts. So if those are topics that are uncomfortable for you, you might want to skip today's first story. Now, let's get started. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole with an H, and it's by user OpenBreadFruit5391. Am I the a-hole for wanting to divorce my husband because he wants a son? I, 27 female, have been with my husband, 29 male, for 5 years, and I have been married for 3 of those years. Our marriage was perfect, and we were so happy. It felt like our entire life was perfect. Church on Sunday, loving husband, beautiful home, all of it. A few months into our marriage, I became pregnant, and my husband and I were overjoyed, as was the rest of our family. My husband was especially happy after finding out our baby was a boy, as he'd always told me he wanted at least one son. I even started to try to attempt to repair my relationship with my mother, so our son could have a relationship with his grandparents. I had originally cut off most contact with my mother due to how she treated my brother when he married his husband, though my brother said he was alright with my decision to try to get her back in my life since he still has love for her and my baby was her first grandchild. However, our son ended up stillborn and it broke me. I fell into a deep depression and, even at one point, considered taking my life. But my husband was there for me during all of it, and we got through the grief. Our marriage felt stronger than ever, and life slowly started feeling beautiful again, even if it no longer felt perfect. About 5 months ago, I found out I was pregnant again, and then found out soon after that we were having triplets. My husband and I were over the moon, and he was the most doting and loving husband, since we had always said we wanted 2 to 3 children. We agreed we wouldn't try for any more children after this. Because of our family and our excitement for the triplets, we decided to throw a baby shower and a gender reveal party. We trusted my brother with the genders of the triplets, and he bought some confetti cannons and colored streamers inside. The baby shower went wonderfully with my parents, in-laws, my brother and his husband and their daughter, and tons of friends and extended family. It was like a dream come true, and I was so excited for the gender reveal. I don't care what the gender of our babies was, I just wanted healthy little babies. But my husband was clearly excited about potentially having 3 sons. When the time came, my husband and my brother all shot a confetti cannon and all 3 shot out pink confetti. I was so excited and so was my brother, but my husband screamed at the top of his lungs and hit the table in front of us, hitting it so hard that it actually broke. He screamed at me that I was supposed to give him at least one son because I killed his first one. That's when I burst into tears. I had been so broken up about our son's stillbirth, and a part of me felt it was my fault, and now my husband was, the love of my life, telling me that it was. My brother immediately stepped in and tried to get my husband to calm down, but my husband shoved my brother, so my brother instead pulled me inside, where I cried in the living room while my husband's mother tried to calm him down. I could hear him screaming outside about how 3 daughters are too many, how he doesn't want 4 kids, but he also wants a son. Ever since that moment, my husband has hardly talked to me. He's been sleeping in the guest room, and when we do interact, he's clearly upset and mad and tries to argue with me. I tried to talk to him about it and asked about how he'll be with our 3 daughters, but he spat at me and told me that he would provide them shelter and food, but he isn't interested in daughters and doesn't plan to have a close relationship with them. That sealed the deal that I wanted to divorce him, and I cried myself to sleep last night. Earlier today, I confided in my mother and mother-in-law about all of this, but they told me I can't divorce my husband just because he wants a son. I don't want my daughters to grow up in an unloving household where their parents constantly argue and their father doesn't love them. The moment my husband said I killed our son, I felt as though I lost all the love I had for him in an instant, and I didn't want my daughters to be in that kind of a household. However, both my mom and my mother-in-law say it's just natural for men to want sons and that at least he isn't saying he'll mistreat them. They treated this as an absolute fact and acted as though I was just a silly little girl who didn't know anything. I felt incredibly small and stupid. I don't know what to do. My mother and mother-in-law make me feel like maybe I'm overreacting to my husband's behavior. But my brother says this is not normal, as he and his husband are both men who absolutely love their daughter. I'm also not sure of what I'll do with myself if I divorce my husband. I don't work, and I'm not sure how I'll be able to find a job that can support me and 3 babies all on my own, or how I'll make time for all of them when I have to work. I feel so lost and helpless. I'm torn on what to do because I worry divorce will be too brash of a decision and that maybe my mother and mother-in-law are right. Am I the a-hole? What should I do? Well, OP, first things first. No, you are absolutely not the a-hole. There are many a-holes in this story, starting with your husband, then your mother-in-law, and your mother at the same rank. Your husband is the obvious a-hole. He spat at you, he got angry, he broke a table. Like, he got so angry that he actually broke something. That's somebody who clearly cannot control their temper, not somebody I would want to have my children around at all. So your initial gut feeling about wanting to divorce him is absolutely right. And honestly, what your mother and your mother-in-law are saying, it's pure crap. So just throw it in the trash where it belongs. I absolutely understand and agree with all your questions and worries, but you can't stay married to that man just because you're scared of what would happen. I'm sure you have a support network. At least it seems like you do. You had a baby shower with friends and family. Your brother is clearly on your side. So I don't think you'll be absolutely alone in this. The important thing is that they need to get you and your children out of that house. And on a personal note, OP, I am truly sorry for everything that you've gone through. First, the loss of your son, and now figuring out that your husband is a huge turd. A baby, and 3 in this case, should be cause for happiness. And what do you guys think about OP's situation? How would you judge this? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what their judgment was. MC Muramel says, first, stop sharing your feelings on this and your plans on this with your mother-in-law and mother. They made you feel like you are wrong. This guy says he isn't going to care for them, right? He blamed you for a stillborn baby and has spat on you. You can't stay with this guy. If you get pregnant again, no guarantee it would be a boy. What then? He meant everything he said because he still isn't talking to you. Think about it. He spat on you like you are a piece of trash over something you have no control over. Chew on that for a bit. Stop talking and listening to them. You cannot stay with them. You have to know that. Far Administration 41 says, oh honey, you're not overreacting. Walk away from that man right now. I don't care how upset he was. His accusation that you killed your son was inexcusable, as was his physically violent outburst. He has shown you his true self and it is monstrous. He won't be a good father to your girls and that will harm them immeasurably. They will be far better off with a loving single mother than with that pig anywhere near them. It's not going to be easy, but your daughter's mental health growing up is the most important thing. Your own mother will get over it and eventually take your side. Your mother-in-law raised a terrible son, so the sooner that side of the family is totally out of your life, the better. I wish you the best going forward. Angry Krakow 84 says, not the a-hole, but the more you try to convince us you had a perfect marriage, the more you are just trying to convince yourself. Clearly, underneath the veneer of perfection were some major underlying issues that were continuously degrading as they went unaddressed, ultimately leading to this major outburst and realization that, underneath it all, your husband is nothing more than an emotionally unstable, toxic, abusive piece of crap. Yeah. It's quite often seen within the church-going circles. A healthy marriage isn't a perfect marriage, but it's a marriage filled with communication, honesty, compromise, love, and respect, none of which seems to have come from your husband. And Librarian Exciting 244 says, hate to break it to your husband, but it's the sperm that determines gender. He's the one who gave you 3 daughters, not the other way around. Also, he spat on you. Get away from him. He's toxic. Well, the community agrees. I mean, only one person judged not the a-hole, but everybody was like, yeah, you gotta get away from him. So I'm just gonna assume that it's a complete not the a-hole here, of course. And I gotta say, on a personal note, I cannot understand a parent that says they just simply will not love their child because of something as stupid as gender. As some of you know, I'm a parent. I've got 3 kids, and regardless of if they're boys or girls, they're each so unique in their personality and their way of being that it's simply a privilege to watch them learn and grow. And yeah, it's not easy, of course. It is overwhelming and it is stressful at times. And sleep is something that my wife and I know that we'll probably get back in a few years, not yet. And in spite of all the hardships, I have to say, hands down, being a dad is the best job I've ever had. And OP's future ex is just a stupid piece of crap. And that's enough out of me. It's time to move on to the update because OP did not reply to any of the comments. But before that, if you do like this video, please go ahead and click that like button, maybe write a comment, even an emoji helps, or subscribe if you haven't done so far. Now, let's move on with that update. I didn't expect to have an update so soon, but after reading everyone's comments, I decided to take action immediately and went to my brother's house. We talked for hours through the night and came up with a plan. I am going to divorce my husband. He's shown the kind of man he is, and I don't want to live in or raise daughters in that kind of environment. I'm going to move in with my brother and brother-in-law during all of this. He and his husband have a nice, large house where I can have my own room and a nursery for the triplets. I originally worried that perhaps my 3 babies and I would be overwhelming or a burden to him and my brother-in-law, but they assured me they would love to have us here. I knew everything would be okay when my brother even offered to have a baby monitor put in their bedroom so he could help if more than one of the triplets woke up during the night. My brother-in-law has a nice high-paying job and my brother works from home, so I will have a stable environment and my brother will help with his nieces. My own niece is excited for us to live with her. The current plan is I will live with my brother and my brother-in-law for a while, and once my babies are old enough where I feel comfortable putting them in daycare, which my brother-in-law has offered to pay for, then I can try to find a job of my own where I can save up money and eventually move into a nice place of my own with my daughters. I'm so thankful for my brother and brother-in-law. They truly feel like angels. My brother and I are also going to go no contact with my mother. My brother and I discussed her behavior with us growing up, how she treated him when he came out and also got married, and how she has treated me these past few days. We decided this was the best course of action as we've given her many chances in our lives to become more stable and kind, but she's always refused them, and we want my daughters to grow up with a loving family. Now, when I knew my husband had left for church this morning, my brother-in-law and I went to my house and got all my important things, such as documents, clothes, and things that are special to me, as well as all the baby things. My brother-in-law's mother watched my niece while we did all of this. She's a kind woman and has offered to be a grandmother to my own babies, which I happily accepted. I will admit that I cried. I've cried a lot lately, but mostly happy tears. Because my brother and I didn't go to church, my ladies' Bible study group texted me and asked if we were alright and if we needed anything. I texted them back and told them the truth and what happened, and they were all horrified. They told me they support me and are proud of me for taking action, and are now even planning a bake sale at the church to help raise money for me and my babies. Also, apparently, when my husband went out to lunch after church with his men's Bible group, one of the other members is the husband of one of my friends in my Bible group. And when he found out what happened, he yelled at my husband so much that he cried. I got a little bit of joy out of hearing about that, not gonna lie. Me too, OP. My pastor even called me and asked if I was okay, and he let me know that I'll always have people who support me at my church, which I'm very grateful for. After my husband came home from church and saw that most of my stuff was gone, he blew up my phone, but my brother-in-law called him for me and said he would pay for my husband to get therapy for his grief over our son and also told him to leave me alone. My husband has not tried to contact me since, and he has yet to give my brother-in-law an answer to his therapy offer. All in all, I'm so grateful for my brother and brother-in-law. I wouldn't be able to do any of this without them. I'm hopeful for the future, and while this isn't the kind of future I imagined for myself or for my babies, this is definitely the best one I can currently give them. They say it takes a village, and my babies will definitely have a village full of love and support. Thank you, and bless you to everyone who left comments supporting me. I'm grateful for all of them. I'm glad I could give you a very speedy and happy update. Well, OP, as you say, all in all, or all things considered, it is a happy update. Everybody that loves you is there to support you. Your brother, your brother-in-law, your church, your community, everybody. Your husband got a good talking to and also an offer for therapy. He should definitely take it. But the most important thing is that you and your babies are safe and loved. So here's wishing you and your babies the best in the future. Thank you so much for sharing, OP, and take care. And now it's time to move on to a mood booster post to finish the video. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance and it's by user Leals87. Complain to me pretending to be a patient's father? Well, let's involve her parents then. I used to work at a very nice private hospital where the place looked like a hotel. The food was great and the service unrivaled. We were voted the best private hospital in the country quite a few times, and all around people were happy and the care was great. The nurses were mostly old school and stern, but very passionate about patient care with no time for anything that stopped them from doing their jobs. My job was to focus on marketing and complaints, and to be honest, I didn't have a lot of work on the complaint side, but every now and again something would come up. If there was an incident, the registered nurses would usually come and warn me to expect something and give their side of the story. One morning as I got to work, a registered nurse was waiting at my door to update me on an incident the previous night. There was an 18-year-old patient who had a small operation but was prone to dizziness and fainting. Now, slips and falls are a big thing in hospitals, and these incidents are monitored very closely. Since the patient was a slip and falls risk, they moved her to a private room right in front of the nurse's station, so that they could be monitored throughout the day and night. One night, the tattoo-clad, older nurse's description, 20-something-year-old boyfriend comes to visit and forgets that this is, in fact, a hospital and not a hotel. Old-school stern nurse realized something was amiss when the room's doors were closed, and after she pushed the door open, the curtains around the bed were drawn too. Seeing that privacy takes second priority to a patient's healing and safety in a hospital, old-school nurse wasn't having any of this. She pulls the curtains open, pulls the boyfriend out of the hospital bed, and gives them both a talking to. Tattoo boyfriend left soon afterward, apparently furious that his evening was ruined. Sure enough, 2 hours after the nurse visited my office, I got an email from the patient's father, detailing how his daughter's privacy was invaded the previous night, how she had a private conversation with her boyfriend, and how a nurse treated them unfairly. So we're calling it conversation now? I was surprised that an older gentleman would write an email to a hospital with so many spelling errors and a complete lack of punctuation, but the email address was something like tattooguy@gmail. Was a total giveaway as to who the real author was. Now, technically, I was just able to reply to the email detailing our experience and side of the story. However, sharing private patient information in an email to an unconfirmed email address is bound to get me in serious trouble. So, I did what any sane and perhaps slightly malicious person would do. I called document control and asked them to pull the email address on file for me. This happened to belong to her mom. I forwarded the email to her, mentioning that I received the following email from her daughter's father, but since she is the contact person on file, we need to stick with the people that we have permission to contact. May she be as kind as to share our response with him? I then detailed what the nurse told me about the patient being a slip and fall risk that requires constant monitoring, about the boyfriend visiting, about the door and curtains being closed, and about the nurse catching them in the hospital bed together. But they were having a conversation. I apologized on behalf of the nurse for invading their privacy, but explained that open doors are protocol to ensure a patient's safety, and our main priority is getting a patient safe, healthy, and back at home as soon as possible. I ended the email with my contact details and invited her to contact me if she had any further questions. Well, if the parents didn't know about the incident, they knew now. I am told the daughter was well behaved for the remainder of the time, and the boyfriend didn't stop by once during the rest of the patient's stay. So, lessons learned. Don't include your parents' details on your hospital file as your main contact details if you don't want them contacted. Don't try and catfish a hospital employee, and respect a hospital for what it is, a place of healing and not a hotel. Well, I guess he just lost interest in having conversations. That's sad. Thanks for sharing, OP. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out. So here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.